I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Jelpy and Ghosty Chip.
Within Temptation from the big homie Sop with Snoopy. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure Sop with Snoopy. We've had a couple wars. See, that wallet right there, I would get.
No, I wanted the one with us on it.
Yeah, too late to apologize. All right.
But you know what? I actually ordered that wallet from China, apparently. Right. And then when I told them, hey, this is the wrong thing, they were like, well, we're on some 2-week vacation, and they haven't responded back to me. And then all of a sudden now with this coronavirus stuff, I'm like, we're just going to go with the brown wallet and the bad printing. That's okay. Don't send me any more of your stuff.
Yeah, coronavirus is getting serious, man. CDC just put something out and tell us to expect a bad outbreak in America, so.
Really?
True story.
That's scary.
I'm not afraid.
But we could all get separated, right?
Trust Allah and tie your camel. Well, I mean, we've got a kind of lifestyle where we can kind of just hunker in and not go outside and be okay.
Yep. Keep your virus to yourself.
Yeah, we homeschool our kids. And, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We got our kettlebells and stuff here. We don't necessarily need to go to the gym.
I know, but we have to go to Walmart. We need food.
No, we can just Amazon everything.
It's true, but where's it all coming from?
It's America. All right. Within Temptation, Truth Beneath the Rose for the big homie Sop with Snoopy. For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. There's a Democratic debate happening tonight, which I will probably miss.
There is? What time?
I don't know. 9 o'clock. It's usually 9 o'clock. Something's going to have to get cut today, babe.
Right.
So, I don't know. We can do a light day at the gym and then go back to being heavy on Thursday or Wednesday or whatever.
Yeah, because I'd like to see that as well.
Yeah. So, anyway, for the 9th time, Truth Beneath the Rose.
Yes.
We have multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
You can send good vibes. Doesn't usually work, but you can try.
No, Zonia put out a thing, free hugs for everybody or something like that, no strings attached.
Yeah.
That went over very well.
But she had to put that out. That's what I'm saying. You can't just send good vibes.
All right, we're going on 3 minutes here. This is a disaster. By the way, shout out to all the new subscribers, Ad Hominem 88. I like that name,
yep,
Ad Hominem 88.
Yep.
Shout out to him. Sirius 78. Shout out to him or her.
Shout out to all the YouTube strikes. I'm just
shout out. Yeah, I'm looking at all our YouTube copyright strikes.
Copyright.
Brun, B-R-U-N. Shout out to the big homies. Thank you to everybody.
And shout out to all of our patrons. You guys are amazing, and you guys can talk more because I've been going into the community center there and seeing like what you guys are saying. So you guys can talk more. I didn't know the community center was there.
Yeah.
So that was like completely overlooked by me. I noticed people are like, Sori she doesn't really talk back here.
Okay. So this is
political stuff. Check out his channel, Vin and Sori
Middle America Vin and Sori. Just hit play.
VinandSori@gmail.com is what I was gonna say. Okay, ready?
God,
wait. No, I'm not even plugged in. Stop making me nervous. I'm going to dump my coffee.
What a disaster.
Then you'll be mad because my coffee will be in the computer. Go. Ooh, sounds like we're going to have an epic story. Kids.
Whoa. This is like really epic.
That's beautiful.
have lost my faith in holy wars. Is paradise tonight to me? 'Cause I can take no more. Has darkness taken over me? Consume my mortal soul. All my virtues sacrifice. Can heaven be so cruel? I believe it would justify the means. It had a hold over me. Give me my way and dead to see the cruelty of the beast. It is the darkest side of me. The feel of my dreams, deceive that I have seen. Forgive me for what I have been. Forgive me my sins. I'm hoping, I'm praying I won't get lost between two worlds. For all I see, the truth lies in between. Give me the strength to face the wrong that I have done. Now that I know the darkest side of me. How can blood be your salvation and justify the pain that we have caused throughout the times? Will I learn what's truly sacred? Will I redeem my soul? Will truth set me free?
some amazing, amazing picks. Wow, this one's crazy.
Yeah, I think so Wikipedia says the album focuses on some of the difficult choices people make throughout their lives. The band decided to reflect this theme by depicting Lady Justice on the cover, a figure known to symbolize a weighing of moral decisions.
Yeah.
So that's Lady Justice. There's she's holding Dove on one hand and what, a thing of pearls on the other hand? What is that?
It looks like there's
Almost
rosary
looks like
thing.
a rosary
Yeah.
thing.
Cool. That's crazy. Wow.
So that looks like so it looks like it's kind of like the Justice for All record. You know, like
Yeah.
Justice. You
Yeah.
had Lady Justice on the Justice for All record.
Well, that's just crazy. So it seemed to me like they were focusing, like almost coming from the perspective of someone who took part in the Crusades.
Yeah.
But then it also was like, yes, it fit perfectly with that, but then it also was just like, as individuals, there are decisions that we make that make it so that way, like scroll up a little here. I just want to see this right.
Yeah.
Scroll. Oh, it's stuck.
Go ahead.
Well, blinded to see the cruelty of the beast. It's the darker side of me. Forgive me my sins. And just like how all of us have like this side of us that we're not proud of. Like there's a part of us that's done horrible, evil or mean or whatever things that we're like, I wish I would have done that, So
But when we do it, it's not evil. When other people do it, it's the things that we don't do is evil.
yeah, but I think that when you are alone in your bed at night and you're
Right.
you're not in the middle of a debate, you're not in a discussion with anyone but yourself.
Right,
Like
right.
why lie to yourself?
Right.
So you see yourself for who you are, and when we're faced with those moments, like there is a darker side of us. And so
Yeah.
blinded to see the cruelty of the beast was just like, you are the beast and there is cruelty in you, and sometimes you're blinded to your own darkness.
I initially thought that this was like a retelling of Beauty and the Beast
Oh, really?
because of the rose and the beast.
Oh.
And so it was kind of like a Remember how when that show that we used to watch with the kids once?
Yeah.
I loved that show,
So did
like
I.
for the first 3 or 4 seasons, because it would retell all these stories. So it was kind of like if you had Beauty and the Beast, and you could find a way for Belle to kind of retell the story where Belle is kind of like recognizes the darkness or beast within herself,
Yep.
and that's why she's attracted to the beast. I thought that's where they were going. I was like, wow, this is genius, but that didn't turn out to be.
Yeah, that's the right one.
It's turned out to be the Crusades. But, I wonder, like, of course, I always say, it's much easier to judge the sins of a generation when you're outside of that generation.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated how people in their own generation can't see their own atrocity. It's
I know.
mind-blowing to me.
I know.
So, like, going back and, like, being at the time of a crusader, which
Yeah.
a lot of people really don't understand what was going on with the Crusades because they don't understand a lot of Islamic history. So they don't understand about the Islamic expansion. And, everybody knows I love me some Islam, but the Islamic expansion during not so much Abu Bakr, but definitely during Umar ibn al-Khattab.
I just saw that. My soul isn't as broken.
Oh, shout out to Weezy. Keep making this girl cry. Did you get that guy's shirt yet?
No, I didn't know what size.
Okay, actually, no, we're not going to Teespring that. We're going to do the sign. We're going to sign that.
Oh yeah, that's right. I gotta check for
And
them.
then we got to go to the thing. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program. So I'm trying to like incarnate into the mind of a crusader, right? Like,
Yeah.
because like we've said a lot of things about the Crusades. I think everybody understands our perspective on violence and how, especially from a Christian perspective, like we don't believe that there is any justification for it in any way, shape, or form. But I can understand, and a lot of people who are saying, at least the initial Crusades, a lot of people who are not pacifistic who are saying you need to apply lethal violence to people who are doing things. And if you believe that, then you would have supported the Crusades.
Right. Right.
But as with any war, it's never like the Lord of the Rings or whatever, where the bad guys are over there.
Yeah.
And you just get to kill orcs, and orcs are kind of like these inhuman
Yeah.
type of thing.
They don't bleed red.
And no civvies ever die. It's always just, it's just very clean. It's just the bad guys over there, good guys over there. I was watching a documentary on the Dresden bombings a couple days ago. It was absolutely horrific. And it was completely unnecessary, and it was completely driven by just plain old vengeance. because the Germans were merciless. They didn't care about civilians. So it's like, oh yeah, well, here's Dresden. And by that point, in my opinion, a lot of other military strategists believe, I mean, Germany was on its knees at that point. But it was just, these people had been terrorized. And so, hey,
Yeah.
you're going to have to pay. And
Right.
it was a brutal episode in history that doesn't really get talked about a lot. But anyway, if you were to incarnate into a crusader and you hear about the expansion of the Islamic Empire, mostly through the sword. Sorry, my Muslim friends, they were not doing dawah to the Persians and the Romans. Like, it wasn't dawah. It was, you know, and everybody knows about Umar's conquests and how aggressive he was, and you know, Saifullah and all the rest of those guys. I mean, they were doing work. And so there was a Western Christian response to that, and that's where you got the Crusades from.
Yeah.
And you know, you had legendary guys like Salahuddin and the other guys on the other side. So I can, you know, everybody wants to believe that. Oh no, like, whoa, I would have been against the Crusades, my guy. You would not if you were born there, not if you were born and inside all of that. And so that's what I like about the song, is that it doesn't. It's not like a crusader saying, hey, this is awesome. It's a guy really dealing with his own doubts.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is I actually never put much thought into it probably, but I never thought of everybody that took place in the Crusades. I always pictured them doing it without even second guessing what they were doing. So this song kind of put it out there that way. And I was like, yeah, there must have been people that were like, but are we doing the right thing here?
Right.
You know, I mean, even now in our modern example of this with abortion, you have people that are just brazen about it, that they're like, this is good, a woman should have the choice. But then, you know, we're watching, I don't even know what the name of that show is, but it's a show where like these people get like 10 people or something like that, 10 guys and 10 girls are picked, and they, something about being blind, like Love is Blind, I think, and so you can't see the other person. Yeah,
and they marry each other. It's ridiculous.
It's completely crazy, but I like the it's interesting to me.
It is
but
an
anyway,
interesting show.
Yeah, in the personalities and stuff. But anyway, like in that, one girl is talking about how she was in a situation before where she said she was forced to make the choice.
Yeah, that's the phrase she used.
Wild, because everybody uses that, you know, like the freedom of choice, and a woman should have a choice.
Fiancé?
But well, I don't know if they were.
Ex-fiancé
Yeah, they were. I just know
like
that they were together. I don't know how close they were, but she was forced to make the choice to kill her child, which wasn't actually like a choice for her because she didn't want to do it.
Right.
So, yeah. So like I know that there are. You know, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you know, all brazen about it and stuff. But then there are other people that are like, this isn't good. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell by her reaction that she didn't think it was a good thing. She felt like it was something she needed to do at the time, but that...
Well, she was clearly still wounded by it.
Yeah.
And she was basically saying, this is a deal breaker.
Right, you can't put me in that situation.
She said,
again.
I won't survive another one.
Yeah.
She said she wouldn't be able to survive another one. You know, which is... You know, so yeah, like those doubts within your soul when your society says that, oh, this is a good thing or it's something to be celebrated. Hey, shout your abortion, or even a crusader, it's like, oh, like I'm sure the initial pitch was like, oh, these guys are expanding.
But then when you're seeing the bloodshed, it's like,
but then you're killing civilians.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you're going after Jews who have nothing to do with anything, drowning them for their baptism and all this other type of stuff. And you have to start saying, and even, and the crazy thing about killing someone is like, even if they're bad, there's just that lingering, like, it's still a human being. Man.
Yep.
You know, like, there was this one movie, I forgot what the name of the movie was, but it was about the death penalty. It was a really powerful movie. I don't know if it was Dead Man, it wasn't Dead Man Walking, I don't think it was, but these guys were on death row, and for the entire movie, you feel bad for them. Like, oh my God, they're on death row. You see the humanity, and then the last like 20 minutes shows what they did, and it was, I think, with Susan Sarandon was in the movie, and they did some pretty horrendous stuff. And when you see that, you go, oh, well. But But I remember watching that movie being like, those guys need to die. Like, I would put a bullet in that guy's head myself. But then when they were dramatizing the execution, I was like, I'm very happy I don't have to do that. It's just, it doesn't matter who you are, like, as far as how tough you are or what. Like, I've only met a couple dudes who I believe, and of course this is my only perception, but I believe really don't feel guilty about killing people. And it was one guy that was in the Mogadishu situation in Somalia, and they dragged his friends through the streets, and so he couldn't get over that, and so the fact that he was able to kill a whole bunch of those guys helped him deal with the fact that his friends went.
You're saying,
but other than that, most of the dudes I've read, I mean, I just got done reading this book where the guy, you know, talked about, he's a dev group. I mean, he's in dev group. He's a tier 1 special operator, and he talked about a specific situation where they went in and they killed this dude. Mm-hmm. And there was a kid that was like hiding behind a cabinet, and he goes, I realized that this kid saw the whole thing. And then there was some other stuff that was really graphic that, you know, but like it was obvious that it stuck in his head. Like, so these are doubts that every warrior has. It doesn't matter, you know, who you are, unless you're, you know, I don't want to say unless you're a complete sociopath, you're gonna, you know, whatever. But I know so many guys who just have overwhelming guilt, you know, the constant refrain, forgive me for my sins, which is really interesting because at the time, the popes were saying, ironically enough, if you die in a crusade, you skip purgatory and you go straight to, which is exactly what,
that's so wild.
Which is exactly what happens for martyrs in the Islamic world, where basically you skip purgatory, you miss the day of judgment, you go straight to Jannat al-Firdaus. So, well, not necessarily Firdaus, but paradise. Jannat al-Firdaus is the highest level of paradise. Mm-hmm. But, so, the Catholics were saying the same thing to their soldiers as the Muslims were. And so, like, I like this song because, like, you know, the Crusaders tend to be demonized, and I don't really look at them as demons any more than the on the Islamic side were demons. It's always the rich aristocracy who gets poorer people to go out and fight their wars. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you know, you had Salahuddin, but, you know, it's not like you had a lot of these, like, main leaders in the Islamic government that were going out to fight. You know, the Caliph at that point was just sending people off to jihad. Yeah. You know, after the first 4, you know, dudes were staying at home and then sending people to go fight. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's the same thing. Like, a pope was hanging out in Italy and sending guys to go out and fight and die and all that stuff. So to just characterize both sides as these horrible, demonic, terrible people is like, of course, from my perspective, it's like, you know, I you know, we see ourselves in those people. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's got to be a very difficult moment when you're like, man, because it's such a permanent thing to kill another human being.
Oh God.
You know, that's why I just could never do that, man. As far as like supporting the death penalty now, after seeing the things that, you know, you've seen, it's like. But that movie stayed with me, and I'll never watch it again. It was an extremely traumatic movie for me because the first 3/4 of the movie, you're like, oh my God, and try to get these guys out and blah blah blah, and try to get a stay and try to extend the time, and then the guy was I think he was kind of repentant at the end, but it was just like, you gotta go, man. But it was this weird thing of like, as far as killing somebody goes, it's like, okay, so if you would have heard they did X, Y, and Z, like if you hear the concept, they did X, Y, and Z to these people, but then you see them like 10 years removed from the event, because it takes a long time for these guys to death row. You just kind of, the atrocity is terrible, but this human being is in front of you. Yeah. And so it's like, you know? Yeah. But then when you see it played out, and then that anger comes up in you again, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, we were watching a movie one time, and like this man did something just horrible to this girl. And I've actually never seen like movies that portrayed that level of just whatever toward women. Like it really, really, really bothered me. But I'm kind of the type of person, once I start a movie, it's extremely difficult for me to stop the story. Mm-hmm. And so, anyway, the girl, she gets revenge on the guy. But she takes it, like, she goes next level with her revenge. And so, it was, like, such a weird feeling for me, because there was a part of me that was like, yes, I was really glad she was taking that to that level. But then there was a part of me that felt so sick about it, and I wanted her to stop and just leave the guy alone. And then I couldn't even watch it because I couldn't watch when it was bad stuff was happening to her, and it was way more, obviously more explicit when it was happening to him, and I couldn't watch that either. It really was bothering me. But then I think to myself, like, if it was my kid, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, part of me feels like, yeah, like, you know, oh, the guy's humanity, like, you can't, like, I mean, she really, like, remember that? I mean, I guess,
yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't know if I should just say what it is so people know what story.
Don't.
Okay, so you know, it was just one of those things where I was kind of confused. I hate being confused within my own head about my own feelings about something, because I can say definitively, like, wow, she went next level with that. She went way overboard, and that was wrong. Like, how far she took that, like, that was really, really bad. But then I say to myself, like, if it happened to my kid, I still don't even see myself taking it to that level. Like, I could see myself, like, really reacting, but not, like, doing the things that she did.
She was extremely creative.
Yeah, and I don't see myself doing that.
She was extremely
not
creative.
for lack of creativity, but just, like, that's just too much. But I don't know, like, I just, but then you say to yourself, wow, like, there's some real darkness in me that, you know what I mean, that I could even consider.
Yeah.
You know, that even at the start of it, I was like, good, get him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know. And people say, well, no, it's not dark because it's a sense of justice and da-da-da-da. And I just think that there are categories.
I feel like justice has to be carried out by someone who's not emotional in this situation.
I just think that there are categories of human justice versus divine justice.
Well, of course.
And I think that when you go to permanent actions, that should only be reserved for God.
I agree.
So I think that we can't permanently end somebody's life. So,
yeah,
anyway.
Maybe she didn't end the guy's life. It would have been more nice if she would have just ended his life.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But, you know, it's terrible that there are always all these systems where the person has to bear the weight of the guilt. Whether it's abortion, that girl had to bear the weight of losing a child, and that guy just got to go on and just live his happy, clappy life. Or whether it's, you know, politicians sending soldiers off to war to kill people. Just
pause for a second. Not that I don't feel the pain of when a girl aborts the baby without consulting the father, and the father doesn't want it to happen, and she goes and does that. I think that's oh
right.
God,
We've seen that too, like
yeah.
that video of the guy crying on the sidewalk,
Oh,
and you know, the kid was 6 months along. Subhanallah. So yeah, whether that happens on that way, or a nasty politician sends kids off, 17, 18-year-old kids off to go fight and die and kill, while their kids are in some Ivy League school, or some nasty Pope Catholics sends a bunch of guys out to go do horrible things, and then it's all that whole like thing where there's one person that has to bear the weight of everything, while the other people get away with it. Is just infuriating to me. It's infuriating to me. And that's, you know, I say this all the time, like, that's one of the main reasons, like, I do not support any form of punishment for a woman who goes through with an abortion.
Right.
Because that guy gets to go and do that and get off scot-free, and she's left holding the emotional and now the legal bag. Get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm not putting the girl through that. You're out of your mind. She's already been through enough. So it's just horrible.
I don't think
terrible
that
stuff.
And I don't think that people are going to not be happy with this, but I do not think I don't agree with abortion at all anyway. But let's say that, like, you made some, like, exceptions and stuff, which I don't. But if you did, I think that you absolutely should not be able to abort another man's baby. Like, if you have, like, if you and I were not, like, married or whatever, and, like, I wanted to abort the baby, it's your kid. I shouldn't be able to kill your kid.
Oh.
Like, I think that you should have those discussions.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about the rape situation and all that stuff. Like, again, I'm not even talking about that situation, so don't put that. But, like, if you're gonna have sex with somebody, then you need to be on the same page as if we get pregnant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you should have to have both people sign for that child to be killed. This is unbelievable.
I know. But people, I mean, one is many times pregnancies don't function that way. And two, if they were the type of couple to sit and talk and plan that out, they're probably not going to get an abortion in the first place.
Well, I think that you would make different decisions, right? So, like, as a woman, she might not put herself in a situation to have unprotected sex, so that way she could get pregnant because she knows he's gonna have to sign if I get pregnant.
Yeah.
Where a woman knows, I don't have to, I can just go abort the baby. And he probably, you know, I don't know. I don't understand a guy putting himself in that situation either. Like, if you,
in what situation?
If you don't know that the girl, you know what I mean? Maybe people aren't even thinking
There's
about
no way
that.
to project that.
Yeah,
you're
but
just in love with a girl, or you're hot and she's naked, and then, you know, stuff happens.
She's naked. Yeah, but no.
No, I
probably because I've never had sex without knowing that it could possibly end in pregnancy.
Well, no woman has it.
So,
but you've you know, that's never been a category in your mind of an option to do.
Yeah.
So yeah. I hear what you're saying though. This was a good song though. If you,
oh my gosh,
a lot of times
loved this song.
If you look at the lyrics and the pomp and the circumstance and all that, sometimes some of these things are really, really deep.
Yeah.
Things to look at.
Oh my gosh, for me, instrumentally, it was gorgeous. Her singing was incredible. The topic was unique. This literally never heard a song that was like this. You know, like you hear a lot of like the Bathory Woman. You know, like
they're just celebrating it. Fun.
Yeah. But this was the first time that this perspective has ever come out. So totally getting points for uniqueness. For me, this one, believe it or not, it's another 11 for me.
This really?
Yes.
Mind-boggling.
Because it was so amazing. Plus, wait, let me finish. The other thing that I liked about it is that you could, obviously I didn't join the Crusades, but I recognized my own darkness and forgive me for my sins and it's just unbelievable. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song.
That line, all my virtues sacrifice, can heaven be so cruel?
Yeah.
That's a good line.
Yes.
Because I forgot who it was, but there is this sort of, especially the culture that we came from, well, the last Christian culture that you were from, everything was focused on the intellect and the mind and almost like the elevation of stoicism.
Yeah.
And so the idea that you only get to truth through your mental faculties. And so your emotions are not valid in measuring whether something is morally correct or not. Mm-hmm. So here, they were convinced in the mind to go out and do these killings, but this is a clear, how could heaven be so cruel? That is an emotional topic. Mm-hmm. And so if you try to and people say, oh, take your emotions out of it. I think that's a terrible, terrible idea. Mm-hmm. Because the mind is one factor of 100%. You definitely need to apply your mind. You need to apply your mind and logic and reason in determining whether something is right or wrong. But many times when a person is brainwashed or society gets brainwashed, sometimes you fall back on your emotions because your emotions can't get brainwashed.
Right.
And so what happens is when a person comes face to face with an atrocity, when they've been brainwashed by their society, mm-hmm. you will often see them saying, oh, don't look at that. And it's because their mind is at war with their emotions.
Yeah.
But the emotions are trying to tell you something.
Yeah.
And so when you're in a society like this guy, where he starts having these questions like, wait a second, this feels cruel.
Yeah.
I understand the argument that was used mm-hmm. to kid us up and send us out there. I understand that here, and I bought into it. I drank the Kool-Aid. But here, this is cruel. And sometimes, like, that's the only thing you have left when you get brainwashed by a sociopathic society. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot
Leave
of
those because I want to say something about that.
a lot of times, whether it's religious or secular or whatever, there have been times in history where the entire society has been brainwashed by a small group of sociopaths. So that you end up doing and supporting sociopathic things because you've been brainwashed, and then they want to convince you to shut down your emotional faculties. So people will run from what their emotions are telling them. Oh, it's appeal to emotion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because you've been brainwashed. That's why. And so that is a really, but we, I've seen it in the secular world on certain issues, obviously, but I've seen it a lot in the reformed sort of neo-Calvinist world where everything is about your mind and everything is about, just stoically saying, hey, too bad, And if you're like, wow, man, these LGBT kids are killing themselves. Maybe we should come up with a different way of engaging. Oh, no, they're just... And it's like, I feel like we're being really cruel to these people. And it's just like, stop being so emotional. Just be... It's like, wow, man, I don't know. Yeah, I remember having so many problems with that. Like, I don't really see Jesus being just a stoic dude just walking around Jerusalem being, hey. And so, like, it's very interesting. But that's one of the ways that whole societies get duped into doing absolutely horrendous things that are obviously against their... Because obviously we believe everybody has a dark side, but we also believe that everybody has a beautiful side and a humane side and a side that does love their neighbor. Yep. And I believe that most of us, like I've always heard, like a good teacher doesn't teach anything new, but a good teacher reminds us of what we've forgotten. And so when Jesus shows up and tells us to love our neighbor, like I think...
that's interesting.
The part of the imago Dei, the image of God in you, already loves your neighbor. And, and the contrast is always crazy. I remember being outside an abortion clinic and like these people are like, what's happening in the building? But then they'll see a little baby in a stroller and they'll stop and smile. And like not seeing the contradiction at all. But that's because she's still got that. She hasn't become completely subsumed as this... so there had to be a lot of crusaders, man, that were like loving little, little kids over there in the Middle East and giving them candy and all this jazz and then going out the next night and killing their father. And
such a crazy
human beings, man. So you need your emotions to inform your moral decisions. They need to be there. Because if you're in a lot of danger. If you formulate your moral compass outside of your emotions, that's a lot of danger. One of the ways that you gauge whether or not a person is a sociopath is their inability to feel guilt. It's not the inability to know they're guilty, it's the inability to feel the guilt. So when you've got people telling you like, no, don't be emotional in the way that you're formulating your moral worldview, run like hell from those people. That's dangerous. And if you bought into that idea, I don't care what topic we're talking about, however you come down. I mean, we always know we're going to be the minority, especially when it comes to the... I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about as a whole. Your emotions better inform your morality to some degree. It can't be the only thing, but it can't not be there either. Because you can end up doing and saying and supporting some really nasty stuff.
The best case scenario is that you're a holistic person, so that your emotions and your mind and your every part of you, your spirituality, everything is kind of like aligned to make your decisions, and you make decisions out of that. Then you don't say things like, what is it when people are usually like, no offense, but okay, your mind is like, you shouldn't say this, okay, but that verse was crazy to me because he's saying, pray for me because I've lost my faith in holy wars, which was a contradiction kind of, because he's saying, if you lose your faith, you usually don't pray. But he's saying, pray for me. So he still believes in prayer. Pray for me because I've lost my faith. But he hasn't lost his faith completely. He's lost his faith in the holy wars.
Correct.
And then he says, is paradise denied to me because I can take no more? Because I'm assuming like it's what you're talking about. They go straight, they skip purgatory, they go straight there if they can participate in these holy wars. And he's saying, can you put that back?
If they die in the holy war.
Right. And he's saying, I can't, is paradise now going to be denied to me because I can't take any more of this? Then he says, has darkness overtaken me? Wait a minute, no. Where was that? Where am I?
Yeah, it's right there. Paradise denied me because I can't take them.
Yeah. Consumed my mortal soul. All my virtues sacrificed, can heaven be so cruel? All, like, obviously the fact that he's saying I can't take part in this anymore means that he still has virtue, but he's lost so much of himself and so much of the goodness of who he was because he hadn't participated. And he's saying, is heaven so cruel that I would be robbed of all of my virtues before I even get there? Like, what type of a person am I going to be if I am this beast, this monster, and now I'm entering the gates of heaven? Like, why? What's the point in this? And he was right. There was a huge, ginormous contradiction. At this time, though, were people able to read the scriptures in their own dialect? Or were they going by what their... See, so they were having this... crazy conundrum, but there was nothing they could do about it because they had nothing that they could go
this
and...
is hundreds
just
and
terrible.
hundreds and hundreds of years before the Protestant
Oh,
Reformation.
what a terrible, terrible thing.
Hundreds
but
of years
just,
before the Protestant
what do you give this one?
The 9.2.
11 for me.
It's a good song. I'm getting a
Definitely, it's going
lot
on my
more.
playlist.
I'm getting a lot more stringent. But the other thing that's interesting is
I'm just as stringent as I always was.
I think with some people, and I've seen it in certain conversations, like I think some people have crossed certain lines, and so to admit that something is an atrocity would then, and especially if you don't have a Christian worldview where a brutal death has happened on your behalf that atones for your evil, then you end up having to kind of double down and say, no, this is good because you know,
it's like,
what are you gonna do?
You always see those memes of like the girl when all of a sudden she realizes, oh shoot, she's wrong, but she's been yelling so much in the argument. It's like, how do I reverse this? But this is like much bigger because it's not just an argument with your spouse. It's like you've made a stand and literally lives have been on the line.
You took part in something that's I've seen it. I you know, and that's why I said like I've seen very few guys who didn't feel bad about, you know, killing and all that. But I've also met a couple dudes who have sat, you know, like, yo, man, that was a non-combatant. Yeah, so? Wrong place, wrong time. You knew that we, you know, because, you know, it's like ops guys threw out leaflets and said, you know, if you're a fighting age male between da-da-da-da-da-da, you need to get out of here. And so, but it was clear the guy wasn't really a threat or whatever, and was obviously leaving the vicinity, and the guy was basically 3 minutes late from when he was supposed to leave. And it's like, well, you know, hey. And it was like the guy was clear, and he doubles down on it, and it's like, man, all right. And you can tell that he's doubling down because he can't admit it to him. You gotta brush your teeth in the morning, look yourself in the face, man. And I think some people don't have the... And I think to some degree, there have been times I've been talking to people and the Lord just said to me, look, if this guy doesn't continue in this delusion, he'll kill himself. Because what he's done is so horrible, and he has no methodology of forgiveness. And so I just go, okay. Like, you know, there's human beings are extremely, extremely complex beings, man. Like, you know, I'm looking at this Fox News thing. There's Ted Cruz, you know, Mr. We're gonna make sand glow, and all the Christians going, yay! And then 2 minutes later, he's talking about how pro-life he is.
Fiction there?
Yeah, like Matthew Maeda posted on the Middle America forum. He was talking about like this person who was like, I'm pro-life, but I cannot vote for pro-life candidates. And then they listed like 9 reasons, and one of them was the affinity for war, the affinity for not taking care of people after they're born, the death penalty, you know, and it's like, we are crazy. Human beings are crazy, man. The idea that we don't need a savior is bananas to me. What do you mean we don't need a savior? Good night. We can't even figure out Genesis 1 or Genesis 2. Why don't we talk about destroying the planet? Okay, we're off the range here. 9.2 for me.
11.
Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone. Loved your neighbor, huh?